Now, and we have discussed about the variable declaration. What exactly the variable and what is the use of variable, how to define a variable, and what are the various data types given by the Salesforce to you by default upon defining a variable, and what is the necessary and what is the necessity of defining a variable, and we have discussed. Why? Because is Apex programming is purely a tightly coupled programming language. That already we have discussed that Apex programming is purely a tightly coupled programming where before utilizing the variable, first of all, the variable has to be get defined first. We have to define the variable by specifying the required data type, and if you want to assign some value for that variable, then you can assign, and then you can able to use that variable inside your application. So that depends upon the data type which you have specified, Salesforce is going to be assigning the required amount of memory for that variable so that we can utilize the memory very efficiently. So because Salesforce is not providing a dedicated server for each and every customer, Salesforce is offering a shared infrastructure to all the customers. That is, it is allocating some amount of memory space for each and every customer inside the single instance by using that multi-tenant architecture. That's what we are going to be defining the variable first by specifying its required data type. And we have discussed about the syntax also. We have to specify the access specifier and the data type and the variable name. And if you want to assign any value, then we can assign that value as well. So now we have discussed about few examples to define the variables over here. And we can define the integer type of variable like as some customer ID, account number, and we can define some string type of variables and the decimal type of variable, and then we can store some boolean type of variable, date type of variable, id type of variable. So many things we can able to define all the data types we have discussed. Now suppose for example, if you want to assign any value, then we can assign the value also here. For example, I'm defining a variable here, integer customer ID. I'm assigning some value 100001. Nothing but not only defining the variable at the time of definition, we can able to assign some value also for that variable. Now for example here, assume that for example I have just defined the variable like as integer customer code. Just have defined the variable here. That already we have discussed, each and every statement inside that Apex programming language has to be get end with a semicolon. So now based on that syntactical rule, I have defined that variable integer customer code, and then I have assigned the data type for that variable as well. For example, in this case, what will happen here? So what is the default value will be getting assigned by the Salesforce to you for this particular variable customer code. Now, for example here, now, for example, just I'm defining that variable here. I'm defining the variable just integer customer code. So this is a variable just I have defined over here. Whenever you are defining this variable without assigning any value, then at that time, inside that memory location, whatever the memory location that we have, inside that memory location, Salesforce is going to be assigning 4 bytes of memory for this particular variable. Already we have discussed that for every integer variable, Salesforce is going to be assigning 4 bytes of memory. Now for this variable also it will be assigning some 4 bytes of memory here. So now it will allocate the 4 bytes of memory. The 4 bytes of memory will be getting allocated here. So now this memory will be pointing to this particular variable. The memory will be pointing to the variable called as customer code. Now inside this memory location, what will be the values available here? If we did not assign any value for this variable, then automatically Salesforce is going to be assigning the default value as null. Even though if it is an integer variable, if it is a date type of variable, it may be date variable, or it may be string variable, it may be boolean, whatever. For every data type, by default, Salesforce is going to be assigning the null values by default. Generally, when you go to some C programming language, in that C programming language, when you define a variable with the type of integer, at that time, the default value is a garbage value. But when coming to the Apex programming language, already we have discussed that each and every data type is nothing but a class. Okay, every data type is nothing but a class. It's not a token, it's not a reserved word, it's not a system defined word in our Apex programming. Each and every data type is going to be describing a class. So that here, by default, if the user did not assign any value for that particular variable, by default, Apex programming is going to be allocating the null value for that variable by default, even though it may be an integer. Now, so now for example here, if we are defining a variable, like I'm defining one more variable over here. I'm defining string, some customer name equals to some Rajesh Kumar. Whatever the string variables are available, those string variables we have to be enclosed inside that single code. That already we have discussed that. Whenever you are defining the variable and at the time of definition, if you have assigned any value, then automatically Salesforce is going to be calculating how many number of characters are available inside that string, and those many number of bytes of memory will be getting allocated. Nothing but for every character, 2 bytes of memory will be getting allocated to you over here. And then, so now, whatever the value that you have assigned for that variable, that value will be getting resides inside this memory location to you. And this variable will be getting pointing to that particular memory location automatically. So like that, if the user assigns some value, that value will be getting stored inside that memory location. If the value has not been assigned by the user at that time, Salesforce is storing the value as null by default inside that variable memory. Now, so this is a process will be getting happen here. Now, let's make a note of it here. If the user did not assign any value to the variable, then Apex will assign null value to the variable by default. So now this is the way we can able to define the variable, and then we can able to assign some value inside that variable as well. Now, so this is the concept of variable declaration. Now, the next one, operators. So what exactly the operators available when coming to our Apex programming? What are the various types of operators are available in our Apex programming? We'll see practically over here. Now let me know what exactly an operator basically. Anybody? Operator. For example, I'm having some two values are there. Let's take some two values. For example, I'm having some two values are there. One is 100, second one is some 455. Two values are available here. These two are the numerical values. On these two numerical values, what kind of operations we can perform? On the numerical values, we can able to perform some addition operation. We can perform some subtraction operation, some multiplication operation, some division operation. We can compare whether these two are equal or not, whether these two are different or not. We can able to perform all these operations over here. Now, how can we perform these operations? For that, we are going to be using some symbols, nothing but some notations. So now, in order to perform some addition operation, we are going to be using a notation here. So what is that notation? Plus. Between these two values, we are going to be placing a operator called as plus. So now what exactly the plus? Plus is nothing but some notation. A symbol is available here. Wherever you go, it may be any technology, it may be any programming language, it may be any subject, you will be having that plus symbol is going to be indicating that addition operation. So now for that, we are having two values are there, 100 and 455. Between these two values, we have placed one symbol called as plus. What it will do, it is performing some operation. What operation? Addition operation. And what? On these values, whatever you have assigned. So now, when coming to the operator, just to define that operator here. Operator is nothing but a symbol. Okay, operator is nothing but a symbol or a notation which performs some operations on operands. Which performs some operations on operands. So now here we are having that operands. Operands means what? The values on which we are performing some operation, these are called as operands. 100 is nothing but an operand, and the 455 is nothing but an operand here. On these operands, we are performing some operation. What operation? Addition operation. How can we perform? By using that notation, by using that symbol over here. So for that, here we are using that operator. So now like that, we are having so many categories of operators are available when coming to your Apex programming over here. Apex programming is providing the different types of operators to you. So now what exactly those operators? We'll see practically over here. Now, operator. Operator is nothing but a symbol which performs operations on the operands. Which performs some operations on the operands. Apex provides the below category of operators. So we are having various categories of operators are available here. The first category is arithmetic operators. These are also called as mathematical operators. So as part of arithmetic operators, we will be having some set of operators are available over here. Like we're having the plus. Plus is for the addition. Minus. Minus is for the subtraction. And the star, nothing but the multiplication. And we are having the division operator. And sometimes I want to perform some modulus as well. For that, Salesforce is providing a function called as the math.mod. For that modulus. So now what exactly the difference between this division and modulus? For example, I'm performing that operation 10 by 3. Now what it will returns to you here? What it returns to you? What will be
The
the result?
quotient value,
Okay.
the quotient value 3.
Okay, the quotient value 3. For example, if I'm using that mod operator, like as math dot mod of 10 comma 3, then what it will returns to you?
The remainder value 1.
Remainder value 1. Nothing but the mod function. The mod function is going to be returning that remainder value, and the division operator is going to be returning the quotient value. So now in order to get the quotient value, we have to use that division operation. And then in order to get the remainder value, we have to use the mod operator here. Now, for example, so now these are the various mathematical operators are available inside your Apex programming language. For example, here, come to here one more scenario. For example, I have entered two values over here, 100 and the 455. Now, between the operators, between those two values, if you are specifying that operator as plus, it is returning the value called as 555. Nothing but it is performing the addition operation. For example, I'm having two values are there. One is 2300 and the second value is I'm having some welcome. In between that, if I'm placing plus operator, then what will happen here? What is the result in this case? Welcome plus 2300. Operator is same. Values are different types. So at that time, whenever you are using that plus operator between the two values, if both the values are of type numerical, it may be integer, it may be double, it may be decimal, it may be the long, whatever. If the values are numerical type, both the values are numerical type, then it will be performing the addition operation. If the values are of type the string, then at that time it is performing that concatenation. Observe this one. Operator is same, depends upon the value which we have supplied, the operator's behavior will be completely different. So that whenever you are placing that plus operator between a string variable and a numerical variable, it will be returning the value called as welcome 2300. Nothing but it is going to be doing that concatenation operation over here. Nothing but it is concatenating both the values to you. For example, if both the values are of type string again, like as I'm specifying welcome plus to Hyderabad. If you're specifying both the values of type string, at that time, whenever you are using that the plus operator, it is returning that concatenation value to you. Welcome to Hyderabad. Nothing but it is going to be returning that concatenation value to you. So now the operator is same, depends upon the value which we have supplied, it is going to be behaving differently. If both the values are of type numerical, it will be performing the addition operation. If the values are of type different type, it is going to be performing that concatenation operation inside that. So that here we can use one operator with the different behaviors. Now, let's make a note here. When the addition operator plus has been used between the string variables, then it will perform concatenation operation. It will perform concatenation operation. Now, the second category of operators here. The second category of operators is relational operators
There was one question.
or the comparison operators. Yeah, tell me.
There was one question.
Yeah.
So what about the other arithmetic operators when we use between the
No, these are not having those operations to you. Okay, it will be giving the compilation error message to you here. Whenever you are using some other operators like as minus, multiplication, division, at that time it will be giving that compilation errors to you. Okay, only the plus operator will be having these two behaviors to you. Now, the second one is relational operators or the comparison operators. So what is the use of these operators here? Relational operators or the comparison operators are used to compare the two values. Compare the two values. In order to perform the comparison between the two values, it may be all the variables are numerical type, these may be string type, these may be date type or whatever. Whatever the values that we have, if you want to compare those values, then we have to use the relational operators or the comparison operators. So what are the various relational operators or the comparison operators that we have in Apex programming? We are having greater than symbol. I think you are aware of all this information. These are the basic fundamental things. Less than or equals to, greater than or equals to, and this symbol is called as equals. And then this is not equals. Okay, not equals. So now here, when coming to the relational operators, in order to compare the two values, in order to identify the relation among those two values, nothing but which one is the biggest one, which one is the smallest one, or both are same or not, in order to perform this kind of comparisons between the values, we are using the relational operators or the comparison operators. Now we are having the various relational operators like as a greater than symbol, less than or equals to, greater than or equals to, equals to, and the not equals to here. So these are the various comparison operators are available inside that. Sorry?
Firoz, what is the symbol for R?
So that will be comes under that logical operators.
Okay.
We'll discuss about that logical operators as well.
Okay.
Now, here observe this one. When coming to the interview point of view, they will be raising a question here. For example, assume that I'm having two values are there. Assume that I'm having two values. One is some welcome. Second one is some Hyderabad. Okay. One is welcome. Second one is Hyderabad. Two values are available for me here. Now I'm comparing these two. In order to compare these two, I want to cross check that whether these two values are equal or not. For that, I'm using equality operator. Now let me know whether these two are equals or not. These are not equals because the first value is the welcome, second value is Hyderabad. Nothing but both are not equals. Why? Because is when coming to these values, both are having two different types of strings are available. Now so that these two are both are not string. Both are not equals. For example, I'm using that welcome. And I'm comparing with the help of equality. And the second one also, I'm using welcome. Now what about in this case here? Both are same or not? The first one is the welcome. Second one is also welcome here. Then both are same or not? So now in this case, both are same. Because I have entered the same string values over here. Now the third case here. In the third case, I'm entering some values. The first value is welcome, and the second value is also a welcome here in this case. Now, but observe this one here. In the first string, the W is capital. In the second string, W is small. Now, in this case, what will happen here? What will be the result if I'm using that equality operator inside that? Both are same or not?
Not. Not even.
Now, when coming to the equality operator is going to be returning both are same. It is returning both are same. Nothing but what happened when coming to the equality operator just it is going to be comparing whether the first character is W, in the second string also first character is W or not. That's it. It won't verify whether it is a capital letter or a small letter. It won't consider about that. It won't verify about the case sensitivity. Okay, it won't verify about the case sensitivity here. So now in this kind of scenario here, when coming to the equality operator, whenever you are going to be comparing the two string values, at that time, the equals operator is going to be not considering the case sensitivity. Just it is going to be verifying whether both the strings characters are same or not. That's it. It won't verify about, it won't bother about that case sensitivity over here. So now,
Firoz, Firoz, is this because of Salesforce? Apex is not a case sensitive. Is this because of that one?
No. Because of it doesn't mean Apex is not a case sensitive programming. For that, it is not taking care of this case sensitivity. Here we are having two functionalities are available here basically. Whenever you are going to be comparing the values, okay, whenever you are comparing the values, we have two types of comparisons. We have two types of comparisons. The first type is text comparison, and the second one is binary comparison. These are the two types of comparisons are available in every programming language to you. And in Salesforce also we are having these two type of comparison over here. So now what do you mean by text comparison? What do you mean by binary comparison over here? For example, when coming to the text comparison. So now in this case, for example, I'm comparing the two values. One is welcome and second value is also a welcome. So at that time, if you're using that equality operator here, now in this text comparison, just it will be verifying that characters. So now in the first string, the first character is W. In the second string, the first character is also W or not here. It will be comparing these two. It won't bother about that case sensitivity. It won't verify whether it is in uppercase letter or lowercase letter. It won't consider about that. It won't bother about that. Simply it is verifying this first character is W or not. That's it. If both are W, then it will go to the second character. The second character in the first string is A. And the second character in the second string is also E. Both are same. Nothing but it won't verify whether it is capital or small. It won't bother about that. Simply it will be verifying whether these characters are same or not. In this kind of scenario, we are using the text comparisons. And the second one, binary comparison here. What exactly the binary comparison? If you're using that same welcome and the welcome. So at that time, it is going to be comparing these two. At the time of comparing these two values, first of all, it will be getting that first character, okay, W. So now in the first string, the first character over here. What is this W? Now when coming to the W, which case it is? Uppercase here. If it is an uppercase, then what will be the ASCII value of this particular character? What is the ASCII value here? For each and every character, we will be having an ASCII code is available in our programming languages. In every programming languages, you will be having some ASCII values. Now, if it is a capital A, it will be starting with some 65. Capital B, some 66. Capital C, some 67. Like that, for every character, you will be having some ASCII values available. If it is a small a, it will be starting from some 95 or 95 or 96. Small b will be having the ASCII value as some 96. Like that, here each and every character will be having its own ASCII value. So at that time, when coming to the binary comparison, first of all, it will be getting that character. Once the character has been getting received, it will be getting the ASCII code of that particular character. That ASCII code will be getting converting into that binary format. And then like the same way, it will get the first character of the second string, that is also W. It will get the ASCII value. And then that ASCII value will be getting converting into the binary format. And these binary formats will be getting considered here. Now, if the values are different, then automatically binary value will be getting different. So at that time, it will be indicating these two are not same. So now for that, when coming to the binary comparison is going to be getting the ASCII code of that each and every character. That ASCII code value will be converting into the binary format, nothing but into the 0, essence, and 1's format. And that binary format of data will be getting compared. So at that time, we are using that binary comparisons over here. Now, in this case, if you're having that second string, so first character is some small w will be having a different ASCII code. So at that time, that value, binary value will be getting different, so that these two are not same. So that we can able to compare exactly here. Then where we can go for this text comparison, where we can go for this binary comparison over here. Now, for example, assume that I'm having a login screen. I'm having a login screen inside my application here. In this login screen, I'm having some text boxes are available. In order to enter that first username, I have a text box. In order to enter the password, I'm having a text box over here. After that, the user can click on the login button and they can click on some cancel button also to cancel that operation. So now, in this case, observe what will happen here. So this is the username text box and this is the password text box. And then I'm having that the two buttons. One is the login button and the second one is the cancel button. So now tell me here, which value will be compared with the help of text comparison, which value will be compared with the help of binary comparison. When coming to the username, so now whenever you are going to be logging into that application, you can enter that username either in uppercase letters, lowercase letters, or combination of both these two also. It won't bother about that. Simply it will verify whether this username is correct or not. That's it. But when coming to the password we have to enter in the exact case. While creating that account, if you have given the password, the first character some capital, we have to enter that capital letter only over here. Nothing but what happened, all the usernames are going to be comparing with the help of the text comparison, and all the passwords will be getting compared with the help of the binary comparison to you here. So now for that here, depends upon your need, we have to go with the text comparison or the binary comparison. If you want to use the text comparison in our Apex programming language, then we have to use equality operator. Then how can we do the binary comparison? For that here, we are having a function called as equals function. By using that equals function, we can able to compare the two values with case sensitivity by considering that case also here. When coming to the entry point of view, this question is very, very important. What is the difference between equals operator and then equals function? Now this equals is a function and then this double equals is nothing but an operator to you here. Then what exactly the difference over here? When coming to the equality operator, it is going to be comparing the two values by using text comparison. By using that equals function, we can able to compare the two values whether these two are equals or not with the help of that binary comparison. So that in order to get the exact values, we can able to use that equals operator or the equals function, depends upon your need. So now in this kind of scenario, we are using that equals operator and the equals function. Clear? Now, so now when coming to this, when coming to this equals operator, now it will compare the value here. It will compare the values by using text comparison. And in order to compare the values by using that binary comparison, we have to use the equals function. Here we have to specify the string 1. Here we have to pass the string 2. What are the two strings you want to compare? We have to specify these two string values over here. It will compare the values by using binary comparison. Now, so these are the various relational operators are available when coming to your Apex programming language. Next, the third one. The third one is assignment operators. So what exactly the assignment operators? What is the use of these assignment operators? Now let's see practically over here. Now, for example, assume that I'm having some values are available, like as I have defined some variable. So now this variable I have defined as an integer. integer customer balance. So now I have defined a variable with the name customer balance. I have assigned some value as 10,000. 10,000 is the customer balance. Assume that I'm having a customer. Now this customer is holding an account. Now in his account, he will be having some balance called as some 10,000 rupees. Just now he has deposited, five more thousand over here. He has deposited five more thousand. Then what we can do here? How can we increase this value here? Now, whenever he is depositing that amount, already he is having that 10,000 rupees in his account. Now, whenever he is depositing five more thousand, then his balance value has to be get modified to 15,000 over here. So for that here, what needs to be done? Customer balance equals to 15,000. This is the value. Then how you are getting this value? We have to get that previous balance value, and then we have to add that new balance value here. Nothing but new deposit value over here. So for that, we have to specify the customer balance plus 5,000. Then automatically you will be getting this value here. So for that, simply we can say, now we can able to use that the customer balance value equals to customer balance first and the 5,000. Nothing but what happened in that customer balance, already it will be holding that value as 10,000, and 10,000 plus 5,000, totally 15,000 value will be getting available to you here. So now in this case, what happened here? We are writing that customer balance variable multiple times over here. Instead of writing these many number of characters again and again and again, simply we can able to use this assignment operators over here. What needs to be done? First of all, I need to get that customer balance value. That value has to be get incremented by 5,000 more, and then that value we have to store into the same variable again here. So now in this kind of scenario, instead of using that the customer balance variable multiple times, simply we can able to specify customer balance plus equals to 5,000. Nothing but we can able to optimize that code. We can able to reduce that code also here. So now why we have to go for this optimization of that code? Why? Because is whenever you are going to be implementing your code, whenever you are writing your code by using the Apex programming language to perform some business operations, to implement your own custom business logic, at that time, Salesforce has given some limitations to you. Because Salesforce has given some limitations to you. That in the entire organization, we can able to write maximum of 30 lakhs characters Apex code only, not more than that. Whatever the code that you are writing to perform your business logic, that entire code number of characters should be maximum of 30 lakhs characters, not more than that. So now whenever you are writing some code, keep on Salesforce is going to be counting how many number of characters he has written inside that program. How many number of characters he has written inside that application. Everything will be getting counting by the Salesforce, and then whenever this number of characters count is going to be reaching to the 30 lakhs characters, from there we cannot able to add, we cannot able to write some more characters inside your application. So at that time, we cannot able to write more number of lines of code. We cannot able to implement more functionalities inside your application. So for that here, whenever you are going to be writing that code, so now please use that optimized way so that we can reduce the number of lines of code, so that we can able to utilize that given the limits given by the Salesforce to you. So now for that here, instead of writing this particular customer balance characters again, just we can able to use that plus equals to operator here. Now for that here, we are using that plus equals to is nothing but one of the assignment operator to you here. Now let's see. When coming to the assignment operators, we are having the various assignment operators are available. Plus equals to, minus equals to, multiply equals to, division equals to here, and then equals to. This is for the assignment. This is an assignment operator, and this is an equality operator to you here. Now plus equals to here. For example, 100. I'm using that string variable, a string or integer. Integer customer balance equals to some 10,000. If I'm using that customer balance plus equals to some 5,000, it will be giving that result as 15,000. Okay, it is giving the result as 15,000. Now this statement is equals with the customer balance equals to customer balance plus 5,000. Now both the statements are equal. Depends upon your requirement, we can able to use any one of that. But as a best practice, always go with that optimized way, because we are having some number of characters limit is available inside your Apex programming language. Now, the second one. For example, when coming to the customer has withdrawn some 5,000 rupees or 2,000 rupees over here. So at that time, I would like to use customer balance minus equals to some 2,000 rupees. So at that time, it is giving the result as 13,000. This statement is exactly equals to the customer balance equals to customer balance minus 2,000. And then the third one, multiplication equals to here. So now customer balance into equals to some 3. So at that time, it will be having the value as, now 13,000 is already there, 13,000 into 3, 39,000 is available. This is the output value. Now if you want to perform the same operation, then you can use customer balance equals to customer balance into 3. Instead of writing that same code again and again and again, just we can able to reduce that number of characters as well here. Multiply division here. Customer balance by equals to some 2. The same operation we can able to perform like this. Customer balance equals to customer balance by 2. So depends upon your need, we can able to write those operators as well here. So now here, when coming to the comparison operators, sorry, assignment operators, Salesforce is providing so many assignment operators to you. One is the plus equals to, second one is the minus equals to, multiplication equals to, division equals to, and the equals. Nothing but this is the assignment operator to you here. So now these are the various operators are available when coming to the Apex programming as part of assignment operators. And the next one, the fourth one. Increment or decrement operators. When coming to the Apex programming language, it is providing some increment operators or the decrement operators to you here. Now these are two increment operators will be giving by the, sorry, one increment operator and one decrement operator will be giving by the Salesforce to you here. Now we are having two operators. One is the plus plus, second one is the minus minus. So what exactly the plus plus operator? Plus plus operator is going to be incrementing your value by 1. Okay, incrementing the value by 1. Now this operator will increment the value of the variable by 1. And the minus minus operator, now it is going to be decrementing the value by 1 here. This operator will decrement the value by 1. For example here, I'm defining some variable. Integer customer balance. I'm having some value called as some 20,000. If you want to increment the value by 1, then what we can do? We are going to be using customer balance plus plus. Customer balance plus plus. Now it is going to be returning that output value as 20,001. Okay, 20,001. So now if you want to increment the value by 4, then what we can do? Do we need to write 4 times plus 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 like that? No. If you want to increment the value by 2 or 4 or 5 or 10 or 1,000, at that time simply use that plus equals to here. So now it is going to be incrementing the value by 4. 20,004. Like that. So nothing but what happened here, when coming to the plus plus operator is going to be incrementing the value by 1 only. Okay, this is the fundamental rule. If you want to increment the value by 2 sometime, 3 sometime, 4 sometime, 5 sometime, 10,000, 20,000, whatever, other than 1, at that time we have to go with that assignment operator. Now, after that, for example, I'm having that customer ID. The customer ID equals to, I'm having some 10,000. Now I'm going to be decrementing this value here. Customer ID minus minus. Now it is going to be decrementing the value by 1. So that if I'm using like this, then what is the output? The output will be 9,999. Nothing but this value will be decrementing by 1 only here. If you want to decrement the value by 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 10, then at that time we have to use that assignment operators again. Customer ID minus equals to some 10. So at that time, it is going to returning that 9,990 value. Like that here, if you want to increment the value by 1 or if you want to decrement the value by 1, at that time we have to use that increment or decrement operators to you. Plus plus is called as an increment operator, minus minus is called as decrement operators to you. So that here, by using these operators, we can able to increment the value by 1 or we can decrement the value by 1. If you want to increment or decrement the value by greater than 1, at that time, we have to go with that assignment operators. Next one. The fifth category of operator is logical operators. So what exactly the logical operators? What is the use of logical operators? When coming to the logical operators here, sometimes we need to verify some conditions. For example, let's take a general scenario. Assume that I am a person. Now, I would like to apply for a voter ID card. I would like to apply for a voter ID card. In order to apply for the voter ID card, every person has to be satisfied 2 conditions first. Every member has to satisfy 2 conditions mandatorily. What are those 2 conditions? The first condition is the person should be the citizen of India. And the second condition is he should be having minimum 18 years of age. These are the 2 conditions are there which needs to be get satisfied mandatorily. Then only that person will be eligible to apply for the voter ID card. Nothing but what happened? How many conditions do I need to satisfy? 2 conditions here. The first condition is I should be the member, I should be a citizen of India. The second condition is I should have minimum 18 years of age. Now these are the 2 conditions, nothing but first condition and second condition. Both the conditions has to be get satisfied. So now in this kind of scenario, if you want to club the multiple conditions together, whenever we are going to be implementing some functionality, at that time we are going to be using some conditions in order to verify whether these operations has to be get performed or not. So now for that here, we are going to be verifying that conditions. For example, let's take a general scenario here. Assume that I'm having this login screen. In this login screen, we are having that username and we are having that password field is available. 2 text boxes are available. So now in this case, what happened? When you click on that login button, first of all, it is going to be verifying whether the user has entered the username as well as a password field, both or not. Nothing but it is verifying both here, whether the user has entered the username value as well as password, both or not. If any of the field value is not entered by the user, then it will not be allowing you to verify that login credentials. It will be giving the message, so now please enter the password or please enter the username. So now for that, what happened? We have to verify whether the first text box, nothing but username has been entered or not, as well as we have to verify whether the user has entered the password or not. Both the field has to be contain some value, then only we can able to perform that operations here. So now at that time, when coming to that, in this kind of cases, we have to verify both the condition has to be get satisfied. So for that, we are going to be using that logical operators. So why we are using these logical operators? In order to execute some business functionalities, we have to verify some condition. That may be one condition, that may be multiple conditions also. At that time, if it is a single condition, directly we can able to cross check that. If the multiple conditions needs to be get satisfied, then how can we club these multiple conditions together? For that here, in order to prepare a compound condition means clubbing the multiple conditions together is called as a compound condition. Compound means a collection, a set of conditions we are grouping together to verify some functionality. So further, if you want to prepare this kind of compound conditions by clubbing the multiple conditions together, at that time we have to use logical operators. So now for that here, in order to prepare that compound conditions, we are using that logical operators. Now, logical operators are used to prepare the compound conditions by collecting the multiple conditions together. Now, what are the various logical operators are available? Apex provides the below 3 logical operators. The first one is AND, second one is OR, third one is NOT. This AND is also denoted as with the double 2 ampersand symbols. This OR is also denoted by using the 2 pipe symbols, and this NOT is also defined with the help of an exclamation symbol. So now what exactly the AND operator here? When coming to the AND operator, if you are going to be using that AND operator, it is verifying both the conditions has to be get satisfied. It may be 2, it may be 3, it may be multiple conditions also here. Now, this will be used to verify all the specified conditions are satisfied or not. Now, when it will return true, when it will return false here. Each logical operator will return a Boolean value to you as a result. Now, make a note here. Each logical operator will return Boolean value as a result. You are aware of what exactly the Boolean here. Boolean means what? True or false. Nothing but it is going to be indicating to you whether this condition is satisfied or not. Condition is satisfied or condition is failed. When it will return true, when it will return false. When coming to the AND operator here, it returns true when all the specified conditions are satisfied. All the conditions are satisfied. And it will return false if any of the condition fails. If any of the condition fails. Whenever you are going to verifying that condition, for example, assume that I am the citizen of India. I'm applying for the voter ID card, but I'm having only 17 years. At that time, what happened? I'm not eligible. Why? Because is in order to apply for the voter ID card, in order to make yourself as an eligible person, first of all, we have to satisfy both the condition. But from that, I'm not having 18 years age, nothing but here I'm having below 18 years, nothing but one condition has been failed. So at that time, I'm not eligible to apply for the voter ID card. So now like the same way here also, whatever the condition that you have specified, if all the conditions are satisfied, then only it will be returning true to you. If any of the condition has been failed, it will be returning the false to you here. Now I think everybody is aware of this logical operators. When coming to your 10th class mathematics, you will be having the truth tables. For the AND, we are having the truth table. For the OR also, we are having that. For the NOT also, you are having the truth table. Now, the same exactly, the truth tables are available inside your Apex programming with the help of logical operators. Now, the OR operator here. When coming to the OR operator, so at that time, what exactly the OR operator? When coming to the OR operator, it is going to be returning true. Nothing but if you're having some multiple conditions are available, from those, if any of the condition has been satisfied, it will be returning the true value to you. No need to satisfy all the conditions. If any of the condition has been satisfied, then we can able to return that value true. Now, when coming to the OR operator here, it returns true if any of the specified condition is satisfied. If any of the condition is satisfied. And it returns false. It returns false when all the specified conditions are failed. Whenever if the specified all the conditions are failed, then at that time it is going to be returning that value as false. And the third one, not operator. You are aware of, just we can able to change that operator sign. Now, by using this operator, we can change the operation result. We can change the operation result from true to false and vice versa. Whenever if you want to change the value from true to false and false to true, we are going to be using that not operator. So now these are the three operators are available, comes under the logical operators to you. Now, so now when coming to the Apex programming language, these are the 5 categories of operators are available to you. We are having that arithmetic operators, and we are having that relational operators. We are having the assignment operators. We are having the incremental decremental operators. We are having that logical operators. These are the various operators are available when coming to your Apex programming language. Now, so now you are aware of these operators as well here. Now, come to the next part.
Firoz, can you explain that not in example way?
Okay. For example here. So now when coming to that not operator, for example, I'm having a variable. I'm having a variable is a customer active equals to true. I have assigned some value for this one. Or I'm assigning some value as some false. Okay, I'm assigning some value as false. Now by default, the customer is not in active here. Okay, the customer is not in active. So now at that time, whenever you are trying, the customer is trying to performing that operation, first of all, we have to verify whether this customer is in active status or not. The customer is in active status or not. If the customer is in active status, then he can able to perform some operation. If the customer is not in active status, then we cannot able to perform any operation. For example, assume that I have opened a bank account. Now, almost 1 year back, I have created a bank account. I have used that bank account for 6 months. And from the past 6 months, I haven't performed any transaction inside that. I haven't utilized my bank account in order to deposit, in order to withdraw the amount. So now whenever if you're not utilizing that bank account for 6 months, automatically your bank account will be in inactive status by default. They will be changing that status as inactive. So now if the account is in inactive status, then we cannot able to perform any transaction again. We cannot deposit, we cannot withdraw. So for that, what needs to be done? We have to contact that particular bank account, bank people, and then you have to raise a request that please activate my account again so that I would like to perform some transaction inside that. So now at that time, so now I'm going to making that bank account as active here. So now for that here, the customer is inactive right now here. Whenever he's trying to be depositing some money here, whenever he's trying to be depositing some money, first of all, I would like to verify his operation is deposit. He wants to deposit the money over here. So first of all, we need to verify if the bank account is not in active status. Okay. If the customer status is not true, okay, if the customer status is not true, then at that time, what needs to be done here? I want to give some message to that user. You cannot perform any transaction here. You cannot perform any transaction. Please activate your account. Else, nothing but if the account is in active status, then you can able to deposit that money over here. Deposit the money into your account. Nothing but what happened, this value is true. If it is not true, nothing but if it is false. Nothing but what I'm doing here, this value is true. Now before that is customer active variable, I'm placing one negation symbol. Nothing but if it is not true. Nothing but if it is false. If it is false, nothing but if the customer is not in active status, then please go to your bank and please activate your account first. Then only you can perform the transaction. So now if it is in active status, then at that time, I would like to allow him to perform the deposit operation. So for that here, we are going to be changing that value from true to false or false to true. We are using that negation operation over here. That can be with the help of that not. So this is the way we are going to be using that not operator in our cases.
I understand, Firoz. Thank you.
The next one, the printing statement. So what exactly the printing statement in our Apex programming language? Now we'll see practically here. So what is the use of this printing statement? So now by using the operators, by using the data types, we can define some variables and we can able to perform some operations as well here. So now in this kind of scenario, once you have performed that operation, I want to see the result. Whatever the operation that I have performed, based on that operation, it has to generate some result. That result I want to see. Then how can we see that result here? How can we print that result? So for that here, in every programming language, they have provided some printing statements to you. For example, if it is a C programming language, in that C programming, you will be having a printing statement called as printf function. By using that printf function, we can able to print some message over here. If it is a C++ programming, you will be having a function called as cout. We can able to enter some value over here. If it is a Java programming, you will be having a printf function like a system.out.println. We can able to specify the message which you want to display, like as some welcome. If it is a C programming, also we can specify the welcome. If it is a C++, also we can specify welcome. And we are having some .NET. In that .NET also you will be having a function called as system.writeLine. So the console.writeLine. Here we can able to specify some message. Now in each and every programming language, we are having some statements are available to print that value inside your command prompt to see the result. So now, but when coming to our Salesforce, then how can we print the result? How to see the result? For that, Apex programming language is providing a function to you. So what is that function? Now let's see here. Apex provides a printing function by which We can print the result of the operation inside the debug log file. So now what happened here? When coming to C programming, it is printing the result on the command prompt because that C programming has been installed into your local system. In C++ also it is printing that value. It is printing that value on the command prompt only here because this is also having that into your local system. Java is also installed into your local system. .NET is also installed into your local system, so that here it is going to printing the values inside that command prompt. From that command prompt, we can able to see the result. But when coming to the Salesforce, it is not a command prompt. It is not an on-premise application. It is purely an on-demand application. It is purely a cloud-based application. Your code is not compiling in your local system. Your code is not saving into your local system. Your code is not executing inside your local system. This will be executing and compiling and storing inside the cloud platform. So now upon creating a new Salesforce account, whatever the memory has been reserved for you inside that Salesforce instance, inside that memory location only it will be storing your code for you. So already we have discussed that here. Now when coming to your Apex programming, during that we have discussed about a concept called as the Apex programming execution architecture. Now, during this Apex programming execution architecture, we have discussed that whatever the code that you have sent, whatever the code that you have written, as soon as when you click on save button, this code will not be saving into your local system. The code will be sending to the first.com platform. Inside that first.com platform, you will be having that application server. Inside that application server, you will be having that Apex compiler, which will be receiving your code, which will be compiling your code. Once the code has been compiled successfully, this code will be saving into the metadata repository. This is a place where exactly your code will be getting resides. This is a place where exactly your code will be getting compiled. This is a place where exactly your code will be getting executed here. Now your code is not saving into your local system, not compiling into your local system, not executing in our local system. Everything will be getting performed inside the first.com platform only. So at that time, how we will be displaying that result here. So further, whenever the Salesforce is going to be executing your code by using the Apex runtime, inside that Apex runtime, it is going to be fetching that Apex code, needs to be get executed from the metadata repository, and it is going to be storing into the buffer memory. Once the code has been saving into the buffer memory, then it will be executing that code. At the time of execution, it may needs to be get interact with the database also to perform some database manipulations. It may needs to insert some records, it may needs to get some records, it may needs to modify some records or whatever. For that, at the time of execution, it will be interacting with the database. Once the code has been getting executed, it is generating that result. That result will be sending to that associated user in terms of that HTML result. Now, along with that, whatever the code that you have executed, in order to see that execution process, Salesforce is going to be generating a log file. That log file is called as a debug log file. That file is called as a debug log file. This debug log file is going to be describing the entire execution flow of your application. So now when you click on save button, what happened internally here? How the code has been executed, in which sequence the code has been executed, inside your code how many DML operations you have performed, how many records you have retrieved, and how many operations you have performed, like as queries you have executed. Everything will be getting cross-checked inside that here. So now here when coming to the debug log file, for each and every request, for each and every execution, Salesforce is generating a debug log file to you. This debug log file is going to be describing how your program has been executed internally inside that first.com platform. So now for that, for each request, Salesforce will generate a debug log file which describes the execution process of your application. The debug log file will be sending to you. Now we can able to use the debug log file. Inside the debug log file, your message will be getting printed here. So now for that here, how can we print our message into the debug log file over here? Nothing but this is debug log file, nothing but a result file to you. Now where exactly we can able to cross check that code. If there is any errors are available, we can able to cross check inside the debug log file itself. What exactly the error message that we have received. Why my program is not able to execute properly. Everything we can able to cross check inside that. So for that here, in order to show that error message inside that debug log file, in order to print that error message into the debug log file, Salesforce is providing one function here. To print the error message inside the debug log file, Apex provides a function as below. The function is system.debug. System is a class and the debug is a function, which we are calling by using class name dot function name. Nothing but this is a static function. When moving forward, we'll see what exactly the normal function, what exactly a static function. So now this is the syntax of that function by which we can able to write some message inside the debug log file, by which we can able to print some message inside the debug log file. Because we don't have any command prompt concept over here, nothing will be there in our local system. So for that here, we are going to be printing that message into the debug log file for each and every request. When you click on the execute operation, when you click on execute button multiple times, then multiple debug log files will be getting generated by the Salesforce to you. Now, already we have discussed about that here. During our workflows concept, during our validation rules concept, you have discussed about that. When coming to the entry point of view, they will raise a question. For example, now assume that I have an account object. I have an account object. So on this account object, I have implemented a workflow. This workflow is going to be sending an email notification. This workflow is going to be sending an email notification here. Upon creating a new account record, okay, upon creating a new account record, it has to send an email notification here. Now, just now I have created a new record. Just now I have created a new account record here. Now, as soon as my record has been getting created, once the record has been inserted successfully, it has to send the email notification, but it is not sending the email notification. Then how can we cross check that? Now, during that time, we have discussed that when coming to the entry point of view, they will raise a question. Now, upon creating a new record, my workflow has to be get filed, but my workflow is not getting filed here. How can we cross check? How do you know whether the workflow has been filed or not? Then for that, we are using debug log file. During the time, we have discussed about that in detail. How can we cross check that? Now, whenever you are going to be executing the workflow, whenever you are performing some validation rules, at that time also debug log file will be getting generated for you by default internally. Now we can able to cross check our validations has been filed or not. Our workflows has been filed or not. We can able to cross check inside the debug log file as well. Now, how it will be generating the debug log file and what it contains, how to see those things, we'll see practically again in tomorrow's session as well. Now, so now when coming to that particular statement, in order to print that message into your debug log file, we have to use that system.debug statement. Now, system is a class, debug is a function. Now, in this function, we have to pass a message which you want to print. What are the message that you want to print? We can able to specify that message here. Like for example, system.debug. I'm printing some message. Welcome to Apex Programming. Okay, welcome to Apex Programming. So now if you want to print some more message, system.debug. This is my first Apex program. Each and every statement has to be get ends with a semicolon here. Every statement has to be get sent with a semicolon. For that one, we have to end this statement with the help of semicolon itself. Now, so now we have to use that system.debug method in order to print some message onto that command prompt over, into that debug log file. So these are the various fundamental building blocks are available inside your Apex programming language, which we need to use in order to write your code. Now in tomorrow's session, we are going to be discussing how can we write the code, how can we compile, how can we execute, how can we see the result here. From tomorrow onwards, it is purely the practical concepts to us, purely the programmatical part. Now, in tomorrow's session, we are going to discuss about how many ways are there to write an Apex code. We are having the multiple ways are available upon writing your Apex programming code here. And then after that, so now how many ways are there to execute your Apex code? We are having totally 8 ways are available here. Then how can we execute that Apex code by using the different ways? We'll see in the entire Apex programming over here. Now, from tomorrow onwards, it is purely the practical concept. Don't miss that tomorrow's session. Tomorrow's session is very, very crucial.